so we need to start with making a 12" by 12" grid that is 16 3" boxes. So that's pretty confusing, so I'm going to do this with you. First, I want you to take our 1" tape, tape your clothes, and tape off the left side. And have it go all the way to the end and only overlap the top and the bottom. Can you see that? There. So it goes all the way to the edge. And then let's go. So this is already 12 inches. So we can't have a nice clean white border here and here because I just don't have the paper cut correctly for you. But we need to find 12 inches over and know where to stop. So starting at the end of this green line, I'm gonna go to the 12 and make a little mark. And then over here, go over to the 12, make a little mark. You might as well pencil in that line and then put tape down on the other side of that. Then all of this space you're not going to use, but you could write in it. You could make, write any notes. That's enough. There we go. So now let's make a 3" grid on this. So every 3 inches around the entire perimeter, I want you to make a little mark. Three, 6, you know, I should do this so you can see it. 3, 6, 9. 3, 6, 9. 3, 6, 9. This is gonna be a long video. I can feel it. 3, 6, 9. Now with pencil, I want to make these boxes. So each one of these boxes is going to be an experiment. And I almost want you to think of each one of these boxes as their own individual little painting. Because this could be something that all together could be really beautiful, just like an abstract piece. All right, there we go. Now before you get started, there's a lot of different things you're gonna have to go searching around your house for. The first 4 things you're gonna do are just paint application methods. You won't need anything. But when you get to the more experimental watercolor techniques, you're gonna need salt, you're gonna need some plastic wrap, you're gonna need some rubbing alcohol. Hopefully you have that in a medicine cabinet or something. Let's see. Or so if you don't have salt, you could use rice. It's something that absorbs pigment. I think that's it. Oh, some paper towels or toilet paper. Something to scratch the surface with, whether it's a paper clip or scissors, something that'll just kind of rough up the surface. I'm gonna use a paper clip. Crayon. This is for the, have a Q-tip or something for the rubbing alcohol, and this for just blotting. A lot of stuff, but you'll probably just paint with me and just pause as needed. Okay, so some of these techniques require drying time in between, so I need to make sure I start with those. And on the Google Doc that I've shared with you, there are red asterisks next to those specific ones. Plastic wrap, splatter, paper, and wax resist are all 4 that you need, and dry brush. They require drying time in between. All right, so these are the watercolors you're gonna use. I think yours might be different. I think some of you guys have different ones. The colors that you choose to use for this is up to you, but I would much rather you mix your own colors up here and transfer them than using colors straight from this little palette thing. So I'm gonna grab a couple different brushes too, maybe a thin one, a couple of the smaller ones, and then I have my cup of water. All right, so one of the ones that requires drying time is number 4. That's this one, dry brush. And that is because I want you to paint a solid color, and then you're gonna kind of fan out your brush and create like kind of like some hair-like textures on here. I might get a bigger one. So I'm gonna start with just a wash of color, maybe something kind of light. I also like to start by just putting one little drop of water in each of a little paint circles, so that even though I'm not gonna use the white probably. Maybe, why not? Just to get them kind of starting so they're not too tacky. I'm losing my voice already. So I'm gonna start, I didn't clean this out very well since last time, with a real watery yellow. And that's up here. Whoa! Maybe just for fun, I'll put a little orange down here. You also want to make sure you kind of jump around, because if I were to immediately do something in here, they bleed together and that would mess it up. So you really can't do this in order. You can do it in all different orders. So for dry brush, that's all I can do right now, and I need to wait for that to dry so I can do something else on top of it. The next one that requires some drying time is plastic wrap number 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's in this one. So this one is awesome. I'm gonna put down a whole bunch of different colors and just rest this on top. And as it rests, you let it dry, and it makes all these little geometric crystals and cool little shapes. So I'm just gonna get some areas really wet, maybe throw some pink in here. Ooh, that's a cool pink. Maybe just have this all be kind of berryish colors. No, I'm gonna put a little green in there. Well, we're going crazy. Okay, so then I'm gonna not wad this up, but just get it so it has a whole bunch of different folds in it, and set it on there, and it's gonna dry like that. I want this to pull over. Can't unfold that. All right, so we're gonna leave that. This actually doesn't, it's not a 2-parter. That one's done. So number 9, check. The next one that has red asterisks is Splatter. Same thing with this one, we're gonna do something on top. So I'm gonna put down a wash. Let's see, that is 12, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ah! Let that be a lesson to you. Wow, we just made this an interesting color, and that's okay. I like it better. Happy accident. Okay, that's all we can do for now for Splatter. The next one that requires drying time is a resist method paper blocking. That's where we're going to paint an area and then use paper to block off the area to layer paint. That's number 15. It's right here. Let's do a really light red. I hope you realize you don't have to do these same colors. I want all of these to look different. Take your time. And then finally, wax resist. That requires more time because, actually no it doesn't. The way I had it before, we used a white crayon and I don't have that. But what you can do is just kind of start drawing something in. You might have done this like in middle school or something. or elementary school where you draw something with crayon, and since it's waxy, it resists the water. You know, you can paint black paint right over this. This was kind of a lame design. Do I have another color? Surprisingly, for an art department here, I don't have many crayons. At least it's not even Crayola. I don't even know what this is. Probably rose art. Now I can't post this on YouTube. Okay. That's fun. All right, so now let's start at the beginning with number 1 paint application method, a wash. So this is where I just want to see that you can do a really smooth application of paint. There's no gradient, no value change. And I've decided to do orange. You could mix your own color in the paint tray and transfer it to the paper. But I just want this to be real clean. No gradient. Gradient means like dark to light or light to dark. Okay. Now, you would probably want to go on to number 2 right now, but that wouldn't be a good idea. Why is that? Okay, well, I can't hear you, but it's because it would bleed into that. So let's skip that one for now. Let's go to number 3. This is variegated wash. So this is a smooth color transition. I want you to pick 2 colors that you know are going to mix well in the middle. Like yellow and blue make green. So I'm going to start with yellow because it's the lighter color, and I'm going to slowly start adding in some blue. Or I could use my paint tray and put some yellow up here and just barely touch that blue. So we start to get some green. Oh, there's 2 blues. How did I just realize that? And you can kind of go back and rework it a bit until it just is just a straight up blue. Whoa. Just keep playing with it, moving that paint around. I'm gonna dry my brush out so that I can really play with it and get it to where it's a real smooth transition. Maybe I'll even go back and add some more yellow. Lovely. Still don't want to do that one quite yet because I don't want them to bleed together. So I'm going to move on to, that's pretty dry already. That was dry brush. So this is really good for like grass or hair. Find a brush that's kind of wide that you can fan out with your finger. And some of these colors will be, oh, I just got logged out, nice and tacky. So you want it to be really soaking, maybe a little bit wetter. Let's do kind of a grassy color. See, I told you I trash these, but I clean them up sometimes. All right. Let's see how well this works. Nope. Some darker ones. Sweet. You see that? Yes. Okay, let's move on to 5. And this is paint mixing technique. So there's 3 different ways I want you to experiment with mixing colors. One is on the paper, one's wet, and one's in the palette. So on paper is when you're gonna layer colors. Let's make purple. So I'm gonna start with red, maybe put a little magenta in there. And now to make this purple, I'm gonna add blue. because red and blue make purple. Done. Now we're gonna do wet on wet. Now this is pretty cool. I'm just gonna put water down. My water, oh, I should have skipped. Let's wait on that one. We're gonna move to 7 palette. You can either, what I like about using up here, and I don't clean it very often because I can just rework a color, but I'm not going to. What should I mix up there? I'll do this again with maybe some more yellow, so it's more like a lime green color. So this one is number 7, and you're just mixing a color in the paint palette and then transferring it to your paper. Let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, it's this one. Ooh, that's a cool color. Almost like a chartreuse. Okay. So 7's done. We could move on to experimental watercolor techniques with salt and all that, but I think I'm gonna go back and do graded wash. So graded wash is light to dark or dark to light. You can either tilt your page so that the pigment kind of falls if you want, or you can just vary the amount of water you're adding. Let's see, I don't really have a real green up here. Well, I kind of do. I like to think about what's missing in this area. Maybe this red. No, I have red right there. I don't know. Let's do this color. I guess it's like a purple. I'm just gonna start dark and then just adding more and more. I'm gonna blot water so that until it just kind of disappears. And you can kind of go back and move it around. So just very smoothly. We're already at 17 minutes. It's gonna go from dark to light. If you want, you can kind of lift it up too. This is a good way to make clouds. Just a paper towel blot. Okay, I guess we can go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6 is wet on wet. This always kind of reminds me of confetti cake. I don't even know if they still make that. But if you just put water down, so it's just real wet. I don't know what that is. And then let's just drop some colors in. It's kind of almost like a tie-dye. A little green. Sweet. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That row's done. 5, 6, 7, 8 is salt. I'm going to make this kind of a dark blue sky, and it seems like every brand of watercolor reacts differently to salt. Maybe I'm using black. It's happening. Because I want this salt to make it look like maybe stars or bubbles or some sort of like water, like snow. So make sure there's a lot of pigment in there. Cool. I'm just gonna put some salt in my hand. This is like, oh my gosh, this is big salt. Just sprinkle it in. All right, when that's dry, you brush that salt off. And I'm gonna lift up that extra paint that was there. So you might not see this today, or in this video, because once it's dry, then you can brush the salt off and you should see little white dots. So that's really good for like sea spray for an ocean scene, or like some little snowflakes. That's really beautiful. Okay, we already did plastic wrap, alcohol drops. This one's pretty cool. Let's do a green. And that's why we skip around. keep pushing through though here, because I'm sure your Zoom attention span is falling quickly here. All right, let's see how well this brand of watercolor works. If I can see this. All right, so I have some rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip. I think I do. Yep. And it's just gonna push that pigment away. Pigment is the color. Make some dots. Sweet. Paper towel blot. I'm gonna also do kind of a sky color, even though we just did that. But because this is a really cool way to make. Ooh, I'm gonna use kind of a white and blue. This is a really neat way to make some happy little clouds. So if you get a lot of little wrinkles in here, like that, you just push that into the paper and it'll suck up some of that pigment and make neat little textures that you could even go back and exaggerate some of the underside, like if they were clouds. I just feel like the underside of clouds are a little darker. Yeah, you can just sample colors on that. Yeah, happy little clouds. Just gonna bounce your brush around. All right, what was this one? This was Splatter 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, you're gonna wanna block off your page because this could get messy. Let's just do that and that, and I'll just kind of keep it up here. So get a brush, choose a color. I'm gonna do blue. A lot of pigment on there, and you just kind of flick it. You do a couple different colors if you want. I usually avoid red because it's just kind of violent looking, but do your thing. 12. 13 is rice or salt. No, we already did that one. After splatter is rice and salt. Oh, I have salt or rice on here separately. See, I can't just expect you guys to have that. So if you need to leave this one off, you can. So I'm just gonna put some colors down. This is much more fun to do in person because we can talk and we can do this together. All right, so just like the salt, the rice is going to absorb some of the pigment and just leave just little white textured white marks. And that rice has been sitting in that closet for a long time, so I'm not sure that's really going to do anything. I probably needed more water. All right. So for scratch, I wanted you to do two things. I want you to scratch the paper before, so that your pigment kind of sucks into those lines where it's rough. But then I also want you to add some of those lines after. And you are going to take your time to be a lot more careful of different sections bleeding into each other. I just don't want to have an hour-long demo video for you guys. See, the colors absorb more into the rough parts of the paper you've made. right, 15 and 16. We have 2 left, and I'm gonna go through and double check everything. So this one is I want you to use paper to block off some areas to paint. Nice, maybe I'll do it twice. Nice. And finally, let's see what happens when we put paint on top of our crayon. I'm gonna be bold here. This might be too much. Eee! Oh, nice, it worked. I didn't know it was gonna work so well. Go me. All right, we have a wash. We have a graded wash. We have a variegated wash. We have dry brush, mixing on paper, wet and wet, mixing in the palette, salt, plastic wrap, which, let's see, ooh, rubbing alcohol, paper blot, splatter, rice, scratching, paper resist, and wax resist. Wow, okay, when it's dry, take the tape off, photograph it really nicely, and turn it in.